morning, everyone.
Hello.
All right, so we have a lot of things to talk about today, Karen. I have a lot of different questions to ask people.
Okay.
Anything that we say, it's not meant to diagnose you, not meant to cure you. If you happen to become cured, don't mention our names. Check with your doctor before applying any of the information that we tell you. All right, where do we start? Let's start with, how about Ruth?
Yes, Ruth. Hey, Ruth.
Hey.
Hi.
How you doing, girl?
Hey, Ruth, always glad to hear you.
It's like a little home week.
Yes, it's just an update on the continuing saga. So I've been on keto for 3 years. I'm 5'4", about 135, 52 years old, and I'm through menopause. But I'm having problems finding the balance. We talked about how my fingers get sore. On 3 in the morning they get stiff, and tried some vitamins and herbs, and I thought they were working, but I really felt it was the carbs. So I ate my carbs from 30-50 range, and I almost non-existent, and the soreness has gone away. So it has something to do with the carbs. I just don't understand why after 3 years I can't go from 30 to 50. Why should I bump them up to keep from losing the weight? Should I just bump up the fat instead? The other thing is I drink 8 ounces of green salad every day. And after I drink my salad, now I'm noticing flushing after drinking salad. And sometimes a little breathiness. So then I added some sea salt, thinking that it was out of balance with the potassium and the sodium. And then you get little muscle cramps in your legs at night on the calf. So I cut back on the sodium. How can you find the balance in everything? I mean, is there a trick?
Right. Well, let me just first ask you a question to clarify. The first question, was it about finger soreness?
Fingers, yes, my stiff. And
Stiff.
Like about 3 o'clock in the morning, my fingers would get really stiff, and then during the day they would be sore to where trying to open a jar, I couldn't open the jar. But when I pulled it, and I even bought a meter, a glucose meter, because I was sure it was my sugars, and my sugars stay between 70 or between 60 and 70 or even 85 during the day. And if I can keep my sugars under 100 when I eat, I don't seem to have the problem. But if they go like to 120, then I seem to have the problem. So there's somehow, like I said, it's somehow related to that. I can't put the pieces together.
All right. So, Ruth, you've come a long way. You're doing great. You're implementing a lot of things. There's just a couple odd symptoms left, and you're obviously trying to figure out what's going on. I think in this situation, when it's not that obvious, it's kind of a thing over to this side we need more data about you to pull in some answers, because when you're evaluating, you have to have all the data to be able to figure things out. I think a couple good, simple, inexpensive tests would be, it's an omega-3/6 test. It's a home test. It's a blood spot test. And I think you can even look it up. I know Standard Process and this other company merged, and they're doing this test now. I think it's really great, relatively inexpensive, but you basically take a drop of your blood and it measures your ratios of omega-3 to omega-6, especially if there's some low-grade inflammatory conditions going on in the background, to see where you're at. And then you can go, do I need more omega-3? Is it that, or is it something else? If that comes out good, then we can look at something else. Typically, when you're dealing with stiffness on the hands, it's either 3 things. One is there could be a vitamin B6 deficiency, which that's rare. So there could be a pH problem, which is more common. Your body is slightly maybe more alkaline, so you need to acidify your body. One good remedy is to take something called calcium chloride, which is an acidifier, and usually that will take the stiffness away if there's a pH problem. When you take citrus like lemon or limes, believe it or not, that actually turns your body more alkaline, and that can actually make your stiffness more. Another cause of stiffness is low phosphorus. But to be able to kind of understand all these things, there's a test that you can get. It's a blood test that measures your nutritional deficiencies from your immune cells. I'll have to create a video on that and just post that so you can get that test done to look deeper into what's going on, because it's kind of difficult to find out from a traditional blood test what you're deficient in and what it could be. Yes, so that's what I'm going to say, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks, Ruth. All right, and then Aaron. Hi, you're from San Diego, California. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, Dr. Berg. How are you?
Great.
As I'm going through your book, so I came across the alternative to alcohol and beer, which was kombucha tea.
Yeah.
And me and my wife were at Costco, and I'm getting ready to buy it, looking at that GT's classic kombucha. And I said, well, let me just turn around and look at the nutritional facts. And I was shocked to see that there was 20 grams of carbs and 20 grams of sugar. So I didn't buy it, and I went back to your book to try to see if there's any reasoning. But then I compare that to Coors Light, for example, that has 7 grams of carbs and no sugar, but you're adamant against alcohol. So I'm wondering, my question is, what is the reasoning behind kombucha tea in regard to keto diet, because it has so much sugar? And then the other part was, what is your opinion? I ended up buying this hard seltzer. What's your opinion on hard seltzers and hard ciders that have actually no sugar in it and a little bit of alcohol? So just wondering if you can answer those questions.
Yeah, obviously the goal is to have things with less alcohol, gradually to no alcohol. Kombucha tea, believe it or not, has a small amount of alcohol. But the type of kombucha tea that I'm going to recommend is the type that has only 2 grams. And they range from like all the way from 2 grams all up to 6 to 10 to 12 to 20. So you just found the wrong one, and sometimes you have to dig around. I had a hard time finding it. I had to go to a certain health food store, but they add all these other things in there to make it even more sweet. The way they make kombucha tea is they make it out of sugar, plain sugar, and tea. And the microbes eat
the sugar.
Eat the sugar and convert it into lactic acid. So when you drink this carbonated beverage, it's very similar to beer in consistency and carbonation. It's kind of like it gives you that textural sensation, as well as it makes you feel very relaxed. So that's why I recommend it. Like, you'll feel a calm, reduces stress, similar to if you were to take a glass of wine. So that's why I recommend. So I think you just need to find the one with a 2 gram, and that should be fine as far as your sugars go.
Or you can make it.
You can make it, but if you make it, Aaron, you need to like wait like maybe 2.5 weeks, because when those microbes start eating up the sugar, there's a point where it becomes more carbonated and more bitter, and you have to kind of figure that out. Mm-hmm. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah, and yes. Oh, I am. And then what was your opinion on ciders and the ciders and the seltzers? They have very low sugar. I ended up buying a seltzer and it has very low sugar. I think no sugar at all, actually.
I like that, but there's how much alcohol is in it?
It was very little. I think like 0.5. Let's see. It said 5% alcohol volume.
It's 5%. I think that's obviously better than hard liquor, but I think I like the fact that it's low in sugar. I don't know if it's going to give you the same effect, so it may be something as a transition, but I just don't know a lot about it. But I'll have to look into it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
I was just going to say 2 cents on making your own kombucha.
Yeah.
When you get that little SCOBY, that little thing that causes the bacteria and eats up the sugar, it's a process, but it isn't hard. Mm-mm. And you just have to wait and taste it. And you can wait until pretty much all the sugar is out. It's very carbonated, and then if you want to, you could add a couple drops of stevia or something like that.
Exactly.
And it's, you can add ginger and you can add flavoring. So if you're really trying, I encourage everybody to try and make their own kombucha, because it's hard to find a 2 gram of sugar. Most of them on the lower end are 6 to 10 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
Now, how can you tell through the fermentation process how much sugar is left? Are you saying it starts with 2 grams?
Honestly,
or?
what I do is I actually get one that has 2 grams, and I have the taste down. So then when I make my own, I can tell if it's too sweet.
You can taste the
You
sugar.
can taste the sugar in it. If it's like, I mean, with the low sugars, it's very, very like kind of a bitter, very powerful as far as carbonation. You can't drink a lot of it, but you know, it seems to work.
I mean, they only keep the sugar in there to make for taste.
No, they actually put the,
I'm saying after
yeah,
the
right.
process is done of having a done flavored kombucha, the amount of sugar that a manufacturer keeps in only is doing that because someone might think it's more palatable,
Right.
not because it has to be full of sugar. That's my 2 cents. But hey, Colette on Facebook wants to know, can you decrease liver inflammation just with some kind of pill, some kind of supplement or something?
Well, what's her name?
Colette.
Colette, you know, I try to give it me to this point right here. So I think that when we're dealing with the liver and inflammation, that's what we're dealing with, right? Is there?
Yeah, can you decrease liver inflammation just by taking certain pills?
It really depends on what your diet is. If your diet is high in carbs, I don't care how many pills you take, it's not going to work. So the most important thing is to correct the diet. How do you do that? You do this thing called, right here, keto, healthy keto, intermittent fasting. That will start dropping the inflammation. And then as far as if you want to put the icing on the cake and reduce the inflammation from there, a couple things that you can do to drop inflammation. There's actually quite a few. You can do milk thistle. You can also do zinc will do it. Vitamin D will do it. I mean, there's just a whole series. Dandelion greens.
There are a lot of herbs that you can take.
Yep.
But it is the diet. If you continue to eat things that are going to irritate your liver, don't waste your money.
The problem with inflammation in the liver is that it's injury to the liver cells, and then what happens? The liver cells will heal with scar tissue, so they start filling in with collagen, and you get it's called fibrosis, and then that fibrosis accumulates, and that turns into cirrhosis. Now, I'm going to do a video on potentially the reversal of some of the fibrosis, but there's a point of limitation. It's going to get too much. And the problem with fibrosis or cirrhosis is you lose liver function, and that's the 7th leading cause of death from certain diseases, not accidents. So it's a common problem, but it's very easy to prevent if you understand the liver.
Save the liver.
So I want to ask a question for everyone.
Okay.
Here's the first question.
Here we go.
So we know that certain drugs are addictive, right?
Yeah.
But why is sugar addictive? It's not a drug.
Excellent question.
It's not a drug.
That just got silenced, didn't it? We just all started thinking.
I mean, it's a natural thing. Came from sugar cane. Why is it addictive? Go ahead and give me your answers.
So sugar in the store
It's sugar.
form, or any sugar.
Sugar.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Took me a long time to come up with that question. Hey, Lynn, you're from New Jersey. You had a question about, I think, cortisol. Cortisol, oh, it's the product cortisol in relief, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm taking your gallbladder formula and I'm taking your cortisol tablets, and I'm on keto. But my stomach still doesn't go down. It's still extended. So and I know I have the liver thyroid body type.
Okay.
But should I be taking gallbladder and cortisol at the same time?
Good question.
I don't know if that has anything to do with the other, but...
Well, you're trying to reduce bloating, so it's going to be a problem with something going on in your your small intestine, stomach / gallbladder / pancreas. I think the gallbladder thing is you're right on with that one. You want to take that after the meal. It wouldn't even hurt to take one on an empty stomach somewhere other during the day. But I think I would, if you're starting keto, I would look at the ability to break down food at the stomach level. I think what's missing in this thing is that you need more acid in your stomach. So one thing is the digestive formula works really well on that. You may even need to take like 3 or 4 right before the meal to start out with apple cider vinegar. And then also adjust your fats. You may need to reduce your fats, which, especially if you're doing keto bombs or extra fat, if you are going into this with not enough bile, you might want to cut down some of the fats. And that way you can digest better and you will get less bloating. But the other thing, on the flip side, is vegetables. If you're doing a tremendous amount of greens like I'm talking about, you also might not be able to break that down, and that can create the bloating. So adjust either one of those factors down, fast longer, and then I think that should solve it. So let me know next week. Give me a call. All right? Thanks, Lynn. All right, what is the answer to the question, Karen? Let me rephrase the question. Drugs are addictive, but why is sugar addictive?
Well, a variety of answers here, but along the lines of it's increasing endorphin, serotonin, dopamine, or happy hormones, as someone called it. Someone has suggested because of what it does to insulin. A lot of people talking about the hormones. And someone, which is sort of where my thought is going, because the body then prefers sugar as the energy, and the body needs, I'm finishing this sentence, but the body needs energy, so it's going to crave the energy.
Okay. Well, you guys are very close. Someone said it, dopamine. So dopamine is a
lot of people said that.
It's a hormone-like thing. It's called a neurotransmitter. And dopamine is involved in addictions. It does a lot of things, but specifically what we're going to talk about is it creates pleasure in the body. So it's a pleasure molecule. And it also has to do with reward. I'm just going to say right now that they don't know exactly what it does, so they're just guessing. It's associated with this, so it's associated with reward. So let's say, for example, you get the anticipation of, as a child, getting some candy. You get this surge of dopamine. Also, drugs will create the same effect. And so when you take a drug or consume sugar, you get this surge of dopamine. And you get, oh man, I feel great. And at first, it counters stress and you feel great. But what happens, there's a toxic effect there. So the dopamine receptor starts shutting down slightly. And now, the next time you eat it, it doesn't create that same sensation. So you need a little bit more, and a little bit more, a little bit more, until you get to the point where you no longer get the pleasure from consuming that. So now you're like, oh gosh, now it creates no pleasure. It just makes me miserable. So with sugar, the same thing can happen especially if you give into it, and then your body wants it more, and then you get a little relief, and then to the point now where you're no longer experiencing that. So it's really dopamine, and that's all I'm going to say. There's a lot more to talk about, but that's really the main answer.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also a big problem with people considering cheat days or occasional
because once
cheating,
you start,
because when you start, I know for myself, even if I eat later in the day, a totally keto meal, the next morning my body is ready for more food. So add in the sugar, and the next day you're kind of jonesing and you're hunting around for something else. It just adds that much more of a difficult.
Especially if you don't have the discipline or the strength to go, you know what, I can just say no. But with fasting, what happens is it strengthens your discipline because it turns off the cravings. You can go longer. Like the other day, actually yesterday, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. I'm not even hungry at all. I didn't eat anything from the day before. I am like completely satisfied. I have no desire to eat food. Like that makes it easier to stick with something, right? But if you got this whole sugar thing, man, that is rough. rough. So I have some more questions.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think I've experienced this years ago when I wasn't keto and things like that, but when you get sick and you have an infection,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a friend tell me this once, that her husband was sick, and when he was sick, he always needed candy bars. Like that was his thing for getting through sickness. And he had rationalized the whole thing like, well, I'm feeling crappy, I'm going to have a candy bar.
Got to reward you when you're sick, give you some candy.
But I said, well, you know, I think that bacteria is eating the sugar and feeding off sugar. And as the bacteria grows, the demand for sugar would grow, right? Would that then convert into, say, like a sugar craving?
You know, I don't know if that's, I don't know. I do know that when you eat sugar, it slightly paralyzes the bacteria, your immune defenses. I know that, which weakens your immune system.
Right.
And it does, these pathogens, they like sugar too. They hog it, same with cancer cells. So
Maybe.
I do know that, like, even certain conditions, if you have too much candida in your gut, what it can do, it'll eat up that sugar and convert it to sometimes alcohol. I mean, there's like a lot of different things happening there. So
So you're saying it's possible
it's possible, Karen.
that it could cause a craving?
It is possible.
All right.
Yeah.
So I have another question here.
Yes.
Deborah from Facebook. She said she was on intermittent fasting. I'm not sure about keto. She just says IF. For 1 week and dropped 7.5 pounds. And then she says now this week, so I'm assuming it's the second week, she's up 0.5 pound and her blood sugar is not going down. I like the expectations of this gal. She's in week 2, lost 7.5 pounds, and wants to know what is wrong. She's up 0.5 pound, blood sugar's not going down. What's going on?
The first thing I would look at is exactly what are you eating and what did you change? If you didn't change anything and you're gaining weight, then it's kind of strange, right? There has to be something weird. So I would look at the stress level, because that can actually, they can do that. But when you're gaining weight on keto, typically you're eating something that you're retaining fluid. It's not turning into fat because your carbs are low if you're on keto. The other thing that's common is that people are doing these keto bombs or these new recipes, and they get bloating with a lot of almond flour and sugar alcohols, and they will retain water. Those are the things I would look at. Yeah, that's what I would look at, Karen.
That's me.
Okay, so I have another question for people. Okay? What vegetable has the highest amount of potassium per volume? Okay?
Versus per what?
Let's just say, let me just forget the volume thing. Just what vegetable has the highest amount of potassium?
Okay.
Okay? All right, so let's see what people say on that while I go to Deborah from Sacramento, California. Are you there, Deborah?
I am.
Hi.
Good morning, Dr. Berg and Karen.
Hi.
Nice to meet you guys on the phone. Anyway.
Yeah.
I have a question about taking vitamin D3 and K2.
Yeah.
I need to start intermittent fasting because I have been at home and I've gained 20 pounds. And if I eat in the morning, I want to eat continually all day. But if I, skip that morning part to the mid-afternoon, I'm okay with it. But I need to take my D because I'm low. I'm notoriously low on D. And so I need to, I guess, have a fatty meal to absorb the D better.
Good question. Not necessarily. It can help you a little bit. One thing that I did to help the absorption of vitamin D and K2 is in my product. Not that I'm biased, but I added some purified bile salts. So you could take it on an empty stomach. It kind of goes in better. So purified bile salts help in many different levels, but it helps the absorption and the breakdown of certain things. But yeah, I think I would recommend just taking it on an empty stomach, and I think for what you're trying to do, I think you'll be okay.
Okay. I'm going to have a vitamin D test pretty soon just to see where I'm at. I've been taking D3 for about, oh gosh, maybe since this whole thing started. So.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, it's a really important thing, and I think that that's the big pandemic, and it can really help your immune system.
Right. I listen to you, so
good.
I trust your information a lot. So
Great.
D3 has been my big thing with K2. So.
Awesome.
Okay, well, thank you. I will try it on an empty stomach, and because I really need to do intermittent fasting because I am so insulin resistant and hopefully not diabetic.
Right.
I will find out.
Yes, jump on it, and I think you can. You'll be doing good. You'll be doing good. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen. I just want to give a little commercial about a few products that we just came out with. This first one is the cod liver oil. Let's see here. This is the cod liver oil
capsule.
It's a capsule. It's powder. It's a powder. It's the first powder to be created. Okay, so normally it's in a soft gel, and the problem with soft gels, a lot of times they'll have like plasticizers in there, propylene glycol, cornstarch. So I didn't want that stuff. So I've been working with a company for probably a year and a half to come up with a powder. Now what's unique about this, they can turn this oil, cod liver oil, which is wild caught, into a powder without any heat. I like that. So you don't destroy it. But the difference between cod liver oil and fish oil is that cod liver oil has not just the omega-3, DHA and EPA, it has vitamin A and vitamin D, whereas fish oil does not. So this has all of those, but what I added in here, which is the icing on the cake, is the purified bile salts. So it helps you absorb it. Now, bile also acts on the receptors for vitamin A and vitamin D. So it will help, it almost acts like vitamin D without even being vitamin D or vitamin A. So it'll increase your levels in the I and then the vitamin D for your immune system, but also it'll help you break down the oil into those omega-3 fatty acids as well. Like let's say, for example, you're doing salad and you're getting all this beta carotene from, that's like all the stuff in the green stuff. That's supposed to, it's like a pre-vitamin A. Bile actually helps you convert more pre into the actual vitamin A. Did you know that?
Actually, I did know that.
Wow, that's impressive. All right, number 2, this is a new advanced immune support that we just came out with right here. The reason I wanted to create this is that I wanted to have everything in one contained capsule. So this has the vitamin C, camu, in one, like a food base. It has vitamin D, it has zinc, and also elderberry, which is really thoroughly researched as being one of the best, has antiviral properties. So, and it does a lot of other things. So it's all in one, so that's pretty cool. And then this one is not a new product, it's just a name change. Our mitochondria support is now Keto Energy. Do you know why I did that? Because people don't know the mitochondria.
I believe that.
So we changed it to Keto Energy, and basically that will support the energy factory of the cell and give you a lot of energy. I like that one. In fact,
it's a lot of B, right?
Yes, it's 3 different forms of the B vitamins, all natural, except one, which is benfotiamine, which is synthetic, but there's no side effects.
And are those available now? Can folks
They are
order
available
now?
on the website. In fact, I need to order some myself because I'm out of this stuff right here. I like to take this in the morning. But anyway, so I just wanted to plug our own products.
Yeah,
As a
and
commercial.
I have the cod liver, and you know, if you have an issue with cod liver and how it tastes,
Yeah.
even sometimes when you take a capsule, once it starts breaking up, you can get that taste back in your mouth.
Cod liver
burp, depending on the state of your gallbladder. And so this not only handles the gallbladder and the digestion, but no cod liver taste, at least not
No
for me.
aftertaste.
No.
That's right. And it's just a very, very high quality thing. It's I wanted to find something, so we finally got this because we had to go back and forth to be able to do this with no heat. Has been a trick, but I'm excited that it's the first powdered cod liver oil. Who'd ever think?
Ever in existence.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes. Now, didn't we have a question?
Yeah.
What do we got for the answer?
Yeah, so we want to repeat the question in case someone just showed up.
What food has the highest amount of potassium? Or what vegetable?
What vegetable? So there were some answers here, and then people were like, okay, that's not a vegetable. Is that a possibility of an answer that isn't truly a vegetable?
What were the answers?
Okay. Avocado was a big answer, and then people were like, that's a fruit. But okay, avocado, kale, and beet tops were the top answers. There were others,
Okay.
Swiss chard, celery, and seaweed.
Well, I think
some
there's
others.
certain people that are reading my book and certain people that are not reading my book.
Okay.
Because the answer is beet tops.
Beet tops.
And second is the avocado. So avocado is comes in second.
Okay.
But the beet tops, people are eating these beets, but they're throwing away the tops. Cut those things up, use it in your salad. The only time I wouldn't recommend is if you're very, very sensitive to oxalates, because they have high oxalates, but then you can steam them. But the point is that it has a lot of potassium, and it's actually really good in a salad. The other thing that's really good for, well, you know what? I don't want to tell you guys yet because that's part of another question. So forget what I just said there.
Okay, good. And I did want to say some questions here. The cod liver oil is in a capsule, not a tablet. It's a capsule.
That's right. That's right. It's in a capsule.
Okay, good. So can I ask a question?
Yes,
and then you have
please,
some phone
please.
calls, I know.
Give me some questions.
Good. So debilitating pain on the right side, lower rib in the back and side. Is it the kidney? What do you suggest?
Well, when it wraps around the back, it's more kidney stone-ish, kidney sludge, potential problem with the kidney. So, I mean, I would recommend start immediately drinking at minimally 2.5 liters of fluid per day. And that should give you relief if it's a kidney stone.
Lemon?
Yeah, lemon for sure. I'm talking a lot of lemon juice. It doesn't even have to be from real lemons. I mean, like raw lemons, it could be from lemon juice because we're trying to get the citrate in there to help break down some of the oxalates, which is the most common stone. But when it wraps around the back, it could be kidney. Now, keep your liquids high at all times. That'll keep things flowing. The best test is not to jump right to a CAT scan because there's a lot of radiation there, and you want to do that only if necessary. You want to do an ultrasound. Of course, I'm not trying to tell you to do that. I'm just recommending my own 2 cents because that way there's no radiation, and ultrasound can pick up a stone as well. It's a relatively inexpensive and simple test compared to a CAT scan. And then watch my videos, especially the later ones on kidney stones, because I've done a lot of study on this, and I have some good tips on what you can do if it's a kidney stone. If the kidney stone thing is not there, then check the gallstones. And I have a lot of data on the gallstones as well. In fact, I guess I should probably, since we're talking about stones, we should give them another a question. And what is the best food for a gallstone?
I was going to ask Dr. Berg, is the free program still available that we were
Oh,
advertising last week? Is it?
So just so you guys know, we have this. We have a new free
gift.
quiz. It's normally $95. And the reason why I want to do this free is just because I want everyone to do it. Sometimes when I give stuff free, people don't appreciate it. So I will be charging later, but right now, you just take the course. We'll put the link down below. It's a free course on the immune system. Bulletproof yourself through knowledge, and that way, the fear factor goes down. You know how to resist pathogens a lot better, and then share it with your friends. Definitely take that course. But getting back to the question that I was trying to get out there, what is the best food for the gallbladder? Go ahead and answer right now. And yeah, that's the question. I'm going to go right to Benjamin from Las Vegas, Nevada. Are you there?
Yes. Yes.
Hi. What was your question?
Yeah, I have a few questions. One, I have Lyme disease. I would like to know if it's any food that I can take or any treatment that I can get rid of it.
That's a pretty broad question, but I will give you some tips on that. These little Lyme creatures, oh my gosh, they're spirochetes. They dig in there, they start to invade different organ, brain, tissue, and then it creates your immune system to create a serious reaction towards it. And if your immune system is weakened, then you're going to have a lot of problems. If your immune system is strong, you'll have a lot less problems. I would recommend taking my immune course immediately and just learn what to eat. You need to be on keto and intermittent fasting to reduce inflammation, because it's not just merely about killing off this Lyme, because guess what? If you kill off the Lyme and kill off your immune system, now you have other problems. So there is a video I have on this. You can take natural things like oregano and garlic and colloidal silver, and I have a whole list of things you should take immediately as a natural thing. And I'm not telling you not to take an antibiotic, I'm just telling you that here's some natural things to take. And I would focus on building up your immune system. Yep, that's what I would do, Benjamin. Thanks for your question. All right, what do we have as an answer? Do we have
Lots of answers. We've got lemons, grapefruit, cabbage, apple cider vinegar, cruciferous, greens, cranberry. Lots of things.
Okay, so
Question was what?
the question was what natural food will help with gallstones? Okay, now here's the thing. What causes a gallstone is not just high amounts of cholesterol. It's a super saturated amount of cholesterol because you don't have enough bile. So we can rephrase the question, what food increases your bile? And that would be, the top food would be artichokes.
Wow, I don't think anybody said artichoke.
Now endive is another thing that you can take as well, and okra. Those are all will increase your bile. But I will tell you that a low-fat diet will lower your amounts of bile too. So you need the fat to stimulate it. But that's the answer, Karen.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yes. Is it fair enough?
It's fair enough.
Okay, good. All right. You have any other questions?
Sure. Do you have a video on healthy diet for kids?
I do have some videos on what a child should eat, which is very similar to what an adult should eat. Yeah. I would try to do as keto as much as possible. All right.
Good. Take a call. We got
All
a
right.
lot of calls there.
We have a lot of calls.
Yeah.
Rhonda, you're from Louisiana, New Orleans. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, what's your question?
How are you?
Hi, great.
Whenever I do a 20-hour or more fast, I notice that my glucose and my ketones, they have more of a direct relationship instead of an inverse. And both of them, they both increase at a much higher than norm rate. Like my norm is for glucose 80, 85, and my norm for ketones would be like a 1.1. But when I do a 20-hour or longer fast, my glucose shoots up to like 111 and my ketones like 2.3, 2.4, and I don't understand
Yeah, it's weird, isn't
why
it?
the glucose is going up.
So I have a question for you, Rhonda. Are you sitting down right now?
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
All right. So how could your glucose possibly go up in your blood if you're not eating any glucose or sugar?
Exactly.
Right? That's weird, isn't it?
I was thinking cortisol because also I'm an accountant and maybe it's the time of the month, maybe the cortisol, maybe raging in my system, I don't know.
Cortisol is a hormone that releases the stored sugar in the liver and also the muscle. So you're right, that could do it.
Mm-hmm.
But typically it could be coming from several hormones. But the reason the sugar is coming from something called gluconeogenesis, and that's basically the production of new sugar in the that your liver is making. Now, why is it doing that? Because you still have insulin resistance to some degree, and there's a whole feedback mechanism going on here, a feedback loop. So if I'm telling the body like, okay, shut off the sugar, we have the ketones, and it's not hearing me, and then the body and the pancreas keeps, fails to send the signal, and then the liver goes, oh, we're not getting the signal back there, so I need to produce more sugar to kind of complete that communication. All you really have to do is continue this for a little bit longer, and then you'll find that that will go down more and more and more because your body will get rid of the insulin resistance. I think it's not dangerous. I wouldn't worry about it. I would just simply maybe do a little exercise, reduce your stress, of course, but exercise it off. But if you go from 80 sugar, which is like normal sugar, which is 80 to 110, you're talking about like 80 is like 1 teaspoon of sugar naturally. 110 might be not even a teaspoon and an eighth. It's just slightly more than, like I think between an eighth and a fourth of sugar. So it's just a tiny bit more sugar. So I wouldn't even worry about it. I think you just need to give it more time. Thanks, Rhonda. All right, Karen.
Yes. I'm looking here.
You looking for some more questions?
Well, I have one here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And it just zipped up. Pain above the belly button whenever I eat stuff on it. Well, when I eat something heavy on an empty stomach. Pain above the belly button.
Honestly, it's either you need more bile or you need more acid. There are so many people that actually need both, but I'm finding that this bile thing is huge. When you take purified bile salts, so many people feel like so much better. And bile is not just about digesting fats. If you have any type of obstruction in your digestive tract, backup in the organs, bloating, whatever, sometimes that bile gets backed up in the liver, and it can create a heaviness under the right rib cage. That actually is the liver backed up with bile. Bile is irritating, creating an inflammatory thing. When you take bile, there's a feedback mechanism that then opens the dam so the floodgates can open, and then you get this nice release, and like, oh my gosh, that pain goes away. Now you get more circulation, and everything works. So that bile does a lot of cool things.
And it can help with constipation.
Constipation.
Which causes all kinds of problems.
SIBO.
Yeah.
And regulation of unfriendly bacteria. It helps with your microbes. Your microbes even make it's called a secondary bile. So liver makes the primary, and it gets recycled. I will be doing more videos on the bile because it's fascinating. But how did I get off track on that, the bile? Oh, here we go. Here's a question that it's not a quiz, but just a question. Why do we, and actually it is a question, but I'm just going to answer it. Why do people, someone asked this, why do people need more fat to stay in ketosis? Someone asked that question.
Why do you need more fat to stay in ketosis?
Yeah.
You mean to eat more fat?
Yeah.
To stay in ketosis? I guess if you have no fat of your own.
Right, right. So it's an interesting question someone brought up, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, you don't really need it except in the beginning to basically make you satisfied. But when you don't eat fat, your body will tap into your reserve. But if you do low-fat protein, like some of these diets out there, I won't mention any names, ideal protein, and what happens is that you have, it's real hard on the liver. So you don't want to go low-fat protein. You don't want to do powdered protein, soy isolates. You don't want to do any of that. You want to do real food, but you need also that fat to give you the fat-soluble vitamins, omega-3 fatty acids, and but really, keto is low carb. It's not really supposed to be high fat. It is, but it's not. The high fat is not getting you into ketosis.
Yeah, and I think too, it's higher fat meaning eat normal foods. It's higher
Right.
fat compared to the standard American diet that has been pushing for decades low fat, low fat, low fat, low fat, low fat. So then you could say, oh, keto's high fat, but actually when you're in ketosis and you're adapted and you're not having cravings, I mean, some of the problems that our callers and social media guys have is they've plateaued because they're still consuming now a level of fat that they don't need to be consuming. So that fat intake can go down because then the body's using the fat on their, that they are carrying around.
And the other reason why I keep my fats high is because if I don't, I'll lose too much weight.
Bragger, right there. Okay.
So I got to keep the
So
fat
there
high.
are people who have that situation.
That's
But
right.
it isn't, I think sometimes keto gets this bad rap like, oh, all you're eating is bacon and
Pure
butter.
fat, pure lard.
Pure lard by the spoonful, but.
By the
not
way,
good.
Terry and I wanted to mention from the control room the incredible reach your show has. Qatar, India, and Australia are the next 3 callers lined up. So
Awesome.
that is amazing. So it's not just Fairfax down the street, I'll tell you that right now.
No, and usually I make a list. I didn't today, but I was noticing today that they're from all over the world.
Let's take the Australian person first. T, are you there?
G'day.
Yes, I'm there. Hi, Dr. Berg. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Hey, look, I had a few questions because I've been lately watching quite a video, your videos, and the first video that I watched lately was different body types. And after watching your different body types, I figured out that largely I do fall in adrenal body type because I've been trying to, exercise. My body was not recovering, and I have got all those tendinitis, bursitis, and everything. I had to have cortisone shot on my shoulder as well. And after discovering this, that I'm in adrenal body type, I've changed a lot. But there's one thing that you mentioned in thyroid body type was that hands and feet, they do get cold, and they are quite allergic, and also varicose veins, especially with the thyroid body type. So how you have made a video on how to fix adrenal fatigue or adrenal body type. Is there any video which on this regard as well, regarding hand and feet and for varicose veins, or to work around how thyroid body type can fix a body, work around that? That was my first question. Second was the other video that I watched was sodium and potassium pump for building muscles. Well, I do make a smoothie, which is I put avocado, kale, celery, banana, and spinach, cucumber in it. Now, you mentioned that with sodium and potassium pump, it opens up your cell, so it allows amino acids to enter, so that muscle can grow. And so I was wondering, can I add BCAAs to this smoothie? If it is not that, I won't say that it's that high in potassium, but sodium, potassium, just in order to make that, if it opens up the cell, can I add BCAAs to this smoothie? This was my second question. Third, I do take vitamin B, and especially after taking vitamin B, when I pass urine, the color is quite yellowish, and it's so I was wondering, do I need to make any changes or to this?
All right, so let me answer the one question that turned into more than one question. But as far as the first thing is like hands and feet, yeah, I've done videos on that. That usually can happen when you're doing intermittent fasting as a normal thing, especially in the beginning, because there's a slight or alteration or adaptation to your thyroid. You can take a little bit of iodine to help that, but that usually should be better. Varicose veins, that's usually a chronic deficiency of vitamin C. So if you're doing the healthy version of keto that I talk about in my book, that will give you the vitamin C. Sauerkraut is a good source of vitamin C. Vegetables are a good source, and you can start to build that up. Now, the sodium potassium pump, you're doing this shake, which is great, but you need to omit that banana. I don't know where you got that information. You add fruit. You don't want to put the sweet fruit in there because that counters things. So, and then you wondered about, should I add the branched amino acids in there? No, because those things, they turn to sugar. They're not a complete amino acid profile. So the benefits are really only from maybe a kind of a fuel benefit for energy with exercise, not necessarily anything else. I'm not crazy about them. I wouldn't add protein to that. I would rather you do actual protein from like eggs or meat or fish. The sodium potassium pump help insulin resistance, which then help you absorb protein. But if you do that banana, you'll never fix the insulin resistance because it's too sweet. And the last question with the B vitamins, your urine is bright yellow. Well, that's just because you're using synthetics. That's why one of the things I recommend is nutritional yeast unfortified, and the urine won't change like that. Your body's trying to get rid of the synthetics because it's synthetic, made from petroleum. You also mentioned, I thought you were going to mention like dark urine. If you had dark urine, that would usually be a byproduct of the red blood cell called bilirubin, because your liver is kind of not as clean. In that case, you just take purified bile salts. Is great for dark urine. Just as a side note, even though you didn't even ask that question, that's a bonus. All right, thanks, T. All right, Karen.
Okay, good. So here's one from Sanika.
Yeah.
I think that's how you say it on YouTube. What are the foods that an ovary body type should stick with?
Well, the first thing is that you want to make sure that you do organic everything and also avoid dairy, because those two things can increase, and avoid soy, because we don't want to add more estrogen. We're trying to balance estrogen. That's an ovary type. So cruciferous vegetables are at the top of the list. That helps to balance the estrogen. And also like sea kelp and sea shellfish with higher amounts of iodine and trace minerals are good because that helps regulate estrogen as well. So just do the keto plan with more sea vegetables or seafood with organic type things with cruciferous. Okay?
Good, and that's in your book, right?
That is in the book.
Great.
All right. So let's see here. I have another question for people.
I knew you did.
All right. So what is the absolute hands down best vegetable for your digestive system in general? I get silence.
The best vegetable.
For the digestive system in general.
Now, is it a vegetable,
Yes.
or is it a way of vegetables prepared?
It's a vegetable.
Okay.
Out of all the vegetables, and there's probably hundreds, which one is the best
Terry thinks he knows, but I'm not going to say.
for the GI tract?
Okay. I
Okay.
think
What's your go-to vegetable if you have GI problems? Okay. That's kind of a mysterious question.
it's a little mysterious because the answer that comes to mind, I don't know that I think of GI problem. I think maybe stomach. So it'll be interesting.
Well, guess what?
What?
Gastrointestinal includes the stomach and the
Right.
small intestine and then the large intestine. And that's, I mean,
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with my answer.
okay.
Terry thinks he knows, so we'll see what everybody else says here.
Prasanna from India is on the line. Are you there?
Yeah.
Hi.
Yes, Dr. Berg. Hey, my wife and I would firstly like to thank you for everything. Keto is working wonders for us. Your channel is gold.
Great, thank
my
you.
question to you is this. Actually, it's from on my wife's behalf. Does keto have a positive or negative or no impact on fibroadenoma? And that's the question. And outside of keto, can something be done in terms of lifestyle and diet and everything to sort of counter fibroadenoma? So
Yeah,
that's the question.
good question.
Keto or outside, can you do
Now, sometimes people ask questions for other people, but really they're asking it for themselves. But in your case, I'm going to believe you because what is the best remedy for fibroids? There's a couple things. One, as far as keto, it can greatly benefit because ketones have anti-tumor properties, FYI. Okay, anti-tumor properties. There's something else called butyrate, which is also anti-tumor. Now, what is butyrate? Well, butyrate is something that's produced when your microbes eat fiber, like vegetables. So you'll have more butyrate, which is good to reduce fiber. So that's the connection between your good bacteria and fibroids. She needs to avoid dairy. She's all dairy right now, and do organic because those can stimulate the growth of fibroids. The other thing that's really powerful for fibroids would be to do fasting. Fasting will help shrink fibroids big time because it's anti-tumor and anti-cancer. There's other anti-fibroid foods too, and that would be involving a lot of the herbs, curcumin, sulforaphane, like all the different phytonutrients in vegetables, especially cruciferous and other ones, are really good for fibroids. And avoid sugar and stress. Okay, and I think she'll be very, very successful. Good question. All right, Karen, what is the most beneficial vegetable for your GI tract?
Well, most people agree with me, what's in my head. Let's find out what Terry thought.
Yeah, let's see what Terry thought.
Terry thought cabbage.
That's my answer, and that's what most people said.
I was hoping Terry was wrong, darn it.
Well, we might all be wrong. We might all be wrong. But that's what I thought immediately.
The answer is cabbage.
Yay!
Cabbage. Cabbage. Cabbage has a lot of very unique things to help your gut. It's really good for people that have ulcers, gastritis. Apparently it has something called vitamin U, which it's kind of an older name, that it's a certain chemical that's very supportive of healing the internal lining of the colon. But it's also good for people with bloating, and they don't seem to have a problem with cabbage. Well, occasionally they do, but and you can do it in coleslaw, even sauerkraut, or just cabbage in your salad. It's just really good to heal someone with damage to their colon. Okay. Now, of course, you can overdo it, but what I like to do, Karen, is I like to take, and I've made this for you, take that great chopper that we have, and I just chop up different types of cabbage. Maybe I'll put some onion in there and make the most incredible coleslaw. And what you do when you chop it up, you wait at least 7 minutes before you eat it, because you're chopping up this cabbage and it's releasing, and this enzyme is breaking down some of the things that are locked up and releasing these even more phytonutrients that you can now have benefit from.
And you know what, I'm sure this is all over the net, but we should do on the cooking channel, I should show how easy it is just to make your own coleslaw. I mean your own sauerkraut.
Absolutely.
It's so easy, and I'm a little particular about sauerkraut. I don't like a sour sauerkraut.
I know you don't.
It's so simple. So we'll do that, but we're coming to the end today, and we haven't mentioned one really exciting thing that's coming up.
I think there's something coming up in August, at the end of August. I can't remember what it is. I think it's August 29th, 30th.
I think you're right.
Oh, what is that?
The summit.
Oh, summit,
the virtual summit, which, is there a link down below? Anything they're looking at right now?
Well, there is drberg.com, nothing in particular, but that'll take them there, right?
So go to drberg.com and you can register. It's the virtual summit this year. Parking is free, free flights, no line at the bathroom.
It's virtually a summit.
It is. Aw.
And
that was funny.
And we have some extra speakers, like really amazing information.
Keeps cramming in more speakers.
I do.
And this is going to be off the charts in terms of information and the speakers. And you need to sign up. And
it's incredibly inexpensive. So I just wanted everyone to come and be there in spirit. But it's broadcasted right to your home.
Actually be there.
Yeah, it'll be cool. So
It's going to be great.
Well, it's just so great because all these folks, as we just pointed out, India and Australia and stuff,
Right.
you know, it's just not practical for them to show up in person. So I think this is fabulous. Get all our international friends involved. I mean, they deserve it, don't they?
and you know what, Steve? I just realized something. What is the date today?
Today is
24th?
the 24th of
Yeah,
July.
well, guess what? The price is going up at the end of the month, so you better get it before that happens. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I did want to say our first summit, we had people from 30 countries fly to the live summit, which was amazing, and I really love to meet the people.
next time.
That's our favorite part, but
Well, some of my friends don't have deep pockets like that, you know, around the world. So
Well,
I'm
flights,
just
I think, are gonna
shouting
be
out
pretty
for
cheap.
them, like me.
cheap.
I wouldn't
But
fly. I
that's
wouldn't
right.
fly to India for a summit as much as I'd love to. I just can't do that.
That's right. So this year it is virtual, and everybody can come, and
It's virtually a live summit.
it's virtually
Okay,
a summit.
Deanna is from New Jersey. She's the last call.
Okay.
And you had a question about your daughter? Go ahead.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
So she's 15. She has had her period for a couple years and very heavy at times, very painful. But she started a ketogenic diet in March, and she's been exercising, and she stopped getting her period. She's not losing weight either. She's doing weights, she's doing cardio, and she's eating keto, but then she just stopped getting her period. But she's not losing weight, so we're trying to figure out what we're doing wrong.
Is she doing intermittent fasting?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So there's a couple things that I would do. The first thing I would do is I would go to one of my videos that on Plateau. I have like 3 or 4, and just go through the checklist on that to find out what's missing. If she doesn't have a period now, I think she's missing some nutrient, and I would probably start with the omega-3, like the fish oil or cod liver oil, of course, but and then vitamin E is really important. So vitamin E and omega-3 fatty acids, that usually should handle that. But there's something missing. I thought you wanted a remedy for heavy periods, which would be something called, it's a standard process product. You have to look it up. I don't sell it. It's called Ovex. Ovex is really good for heavy periods for females. I think also, I'm assuming she's doing exactly like she should based on my book. I don't know if that's true. But B vitamins are really important too. And then you might want to adjust either the fats or the carbs, keep that down a little bit more, or even the greens. So there's a lot of things to look at. So if we had more time, we can go through it. But I would just go watch my video and just go down the list. I mean, if she's doing it correct, she should lose weight, but there's always things you can do to improve it. All right? Thanks for your call. On that note, have a wonderful weekend, and
Weekend.
we'll see you next week.